Welcome back to the Let's Play multiplayer, where I am playing as CSA, and I'm playing against my buddy Josh. We've both been playing this game for a couple of years, so I wouldn't say we're experts, but we're, I'd say, advanced players. And what I do enjoy about this game, there's so many layers to the game that you're always kind of learning something new. Even now, having played the game for some time. So I left you off at the last video as to what am I going to do in the Far East. Ooh, stay tuned. So what I ended up doing is I moved Stewart up to Harper's Ferry and took that. I moved Mosby up, just kind of support Leesburg to kind of cut him off from supply. And then I had a couple guys up here tearing up the rail line and so forth. And then with Lee's army, what I did was I moved Jackson here at Alexandria. I held firm. I figured let him attack me, which he did. But then we fled. We ran away. It was really annoying. There was like no battle here at all. What's nice though is he pulled his entire army back. So he pulled all 1,200 power back to DC. And this is a good illustration of, as a Union player, you just cannot lose DC. I mean, it's more catastrophic for the Confederates, but not only do you take a morale hit, but this is your main supply depot for the Union if you don't build any advanced ones, which you didn't really do. So like Alexandria, I was able to burn one of them. I was going to try and take the other one out, but I wasn't able to because it takes 5 days. But you really don't want to get cut off from DC because it also cuts you off from your mobility for your ships to be able to move your land forces by sea. So he, I think what he thought I was going to do is I was going to move Jackson around, attack DC, move Lee up, and then he's going to try and engage my entire army with his entire army, which I actually would have welcomed, except for the fact that having moved Jackson up to DC, the rest of my corps wouldn't have been dug in. So I was hoping that him attacking Jackson would have me dug in, and then we'd have a battle, but that didn't happen. So there was no battle whatsoever. So very anticlimactic. Let's see. Was there any Virginia battles here? A lot of battles. So here's the battle in Virginia. This was just for Alexandria. So as you can see, he's got almost 129,000 troops spread out amongst. I don't even know. It's just a lot of divisions, a lot of troops. And he was on red, so he's like ready to just go. Harper's Ferry, we had 6,000 cavalry. We lost 800. He only had 1,400 troops, but he's also dug in and had artillery. So he lost about the same number as we did. But we pushed him out. We were able to take it. So I'm gonna try and. I don't think I'm gonna be able to burn the depot here, but that's okay. My point of taking this really was try and mooch some victory points out of it. So it's a strategic location, so we'll get some victory points out of it. So I'm good with that. Try and squeeze as many victory points as we can. And I'll go over my move here in a moment. I just want to go over the battles. Okay, so that's really all that happened out here. He did move across, and he's making a move on the fort. I anticipated him doing that. And then what happened was our division that was here actually didn't engage. He just retreated back. So he's now in with Smith. Alright, let's go over the battles, and then we'll go over the moves. Alright, so over in Texas, way over here, he ended up catching us trying to pass through, so we suffered some pretty substantial casualties there, right here. I'm trying to get out of there, so this next turn, hopefully I can. I'm on green, evade combat. We'll see. But it's just not a good situation out here, and it wasn't even close. He just absolutely obliterated us out there. He's got better troops. He has more troops, so it's just not a good formula for us out there. So 2 hours of battle. We have basically just militia, which is what these mounted volunteers equate to. He's got line infantry and then actual cavalry, although they are conscripts, but they're still a little bit better than the mounted infantry, and then artillery. Alright, let's go with Tennessee. This is a big battle. This is a huge one. So I attacked him. This was across the river from Nashville, which is where I'll show you. Let's see if we can look on the side of the map here. So see, this is Nashville. over here, where Beauregard is. This is where we moved from west to east at his supply depot here and attacked his core that he had kind of chilling over here. So huge battle. We actually have a few more troops than he does, but that's because he moved a bunch of his core south. So he actually had a lot of troops that weren't even in this battle, which is not good for us because we threw everything we had into this battle, and he's got like 2 core that weren't even engaged in this one. So he probably has easily 120,000 troops probably total in this army under Buell. But it was a 3-hour battle, which is actually pretty short for the amount of troops that were lost. We lost 16-5. He lost 16-9. So not exactly the results that we want. It was considered a Confederate victory, and we were able to stay in the area, but he is too. But we were able to take the region, get military control on it, and get that depot. So hopefully, I don't think I'm going to be able to burn it because, again, it takes 5 days to do it. I'm going to be moving out of there. But I feel like I needed to bleed him a little bit. I did, but at a pretty substantial cost, unfortunately, which isn't what we wanted. But as you can see, we started off with just our 1 core. And he had a lot more than that. He had, looks like, 2 core. So he inflicted some pretty substantial damage on me this round. And then we showed up, and then this is where the odds changed, is 2 and 3 is where we did most of the damage. So, actually, hour 3, he did pretty good damage too. Anyways, so that was just north of Nashville up here. Okay, there was an Ohio. Oh, that's right. So that's in the middle here. This is where we were hoping this depot could hold out just one more turn. That way I can get him surrounded and kind of get situated to attack him, but we weren't able to. So he was able to get that, so that's fine. We're just going to pull out of there and go elsewhere. And then Wilder, who's got a lot of mounted infantry, which is like out in Texas, a lot of militia guys, basically, Rangers. He's attacking me, and I think I know what he's trying to do, so after I get done going over this, I'll discuss. But this is kind of the interior near Chattanooga and Knoxville. He's right over here, where we have a size 4 depot. So Chattanooga right here, Nashville up here. Okay, let's go east to west here in terms of movements. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to shift over to Manassas, attack this guy, and hopefully bring on a major engagement up here. I'm leaving the road into Fredericksburg wide open, but I'm banking on, at least on 1 turn here to hopefully get a major engagement and get some casualties inflicted. We'll see what the map looks like on the flip and then see what we do from here. But I'm going to try and keep moving around, keep trying to draw him into regions where he's not entrenched and attack him. So the reason I'm not attacking him here in the mountains is if you look at, let's see, okay, so number 7. So for example, if I take Claiborne and I attacked him, notice there I can only get 7 line elements and 4 support in there on average for the stack in elements, and then in width it's 100 and then 60. Now notice if I were to attack in like Manassas, 180 and 60 and 35 and 10. So that's the first major obstacle to being on the offensive, is we just won't be able to bring our numbers to bear here, which is what we would be able to do with the Army of Northern Virginia because he has a lot less troops under McClellan. Additionally, look at the defense. So if you look at offensive and defensive for regular, offensive 55% effective, defense 100% effective, artillery 45 and cavalry 45% effective on offense, and then 65 and 60 on defense respectively. Whereas if we were attacking Manassas, for example, which is woods, then it's 90% effective, 100% effective. So really, fighting in mountains is really good on the defense, terrible to do it on the attack, and we really don't need to do it right now. He can be across this river all he wants, that's fine. What's important to me is getting him in the open so we can go after him. So, shifting the army of Northern Virginia across and then go from there. Bearing in mind that he could always swing around with his fleet and try and hit Richmond from the south. That's why I'm staying on this rail line. But what I'm trying to do is keep myself between him and his 2 armies so that I hopefully can find an opening to inflict some pretty substantial harm on one of his armies. I'm going to move my cavalry, both of my cavalry stacks, across and try and take some of those West Virginia territories. Not because they're all that important, but 1, there's a depot over here, so I'd like to burn that. But then 2, another strategic location. So if I can get that, maybe I can milk a few turns of victory points out of that. Plus, Wheeling's got a 2 size depot, so I could always send send Mosby up there and perhaps take that. Consequently, I'm going to move my Indians over and go after this depot here. They'll take a turn and a half. And then I'm just kind of relocating all of my partisans. I'm putting my Rangers in areas where I can get military control, because what I want to do is reestablish myself kind of over here in Tennessee, in eastern Tennessee, and then push up into Kentucky with my Rangers and so forth, and my partisans in the future. I am using this plunder card, so I'm using my last 3 plunder cards. I was able to use the rest of them I had up here in Ohio and Indiana, which is the whole reason I came up here. Let's see, is it just, I think it's just Ohio, actually. Yeah. Okay. So I was able to use the rest of my plunder cards, which is good. That's the reason I went into Ohio in the first place, was to use my plunder cards. Over here in Tennessee, things have gotten a bit precarious, so I've changed plans. I was originally going to go up here and try and destroy the supply depots, put him in a situation where he had to pull back completely. Well, he was smart, and he brought down a bunch of... I don't know what's up with why it's tweaking out like that. It's really annoying. Stop. Anyways, hold on. Did I get it? There we go. He brought a whole bunch of river transports down to supply his army. And honestly, if he's got another stack of river transports like that, he could just kind of rotate them back and forth. Yeah, I shoot at him when he goes by, but I'm not going to be doing enough damage to cause him to have to pull back. The purpose of taking these depots out was was short term, but I felt like if I was able to burn enough of these depots quick enough, he'd have to pull back, and then perhaps we could get into winter before he was able to cross the river. Across the Cumberland, but it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, I forgot that it takes 5 days to burn this depot, so when I pulled Johnson out, I didn't leave someone behind to finish burning this depot, so that's still there. We're not going to be able to take this one out because I have to get out of here before he cuts me off across the river here. So I'm railing across. It's going to take me a day, and therefore this isn't going to get destroyed. I should have left 1 unit here to finish off destroying this depot, which would have made that more significant, because then this would have been isolated off from the rest of his logistical supply. So I screwed that up. By the way, in the future, what you should do, if you're doing what I did, is attach one of these guys, a pillager. Here, let me give a good example. Here we go. Like one of these guys. So, a pillager. So, someone with the pillager stat, put them in a core like this. That way, when they capture Bowling Green, it automatically destroys the depot. You don't have to wait around 5 days to blow it up. It will just automatically happen because, as it says, this element will immediately destroy any enemy depot or stockade captured. So, that's where we screwed up. Lesson learned. Like I said, been playing this game a long time, and you still learn a lot every time you play it, especially when you play a human player, because you have to be a lot more careful. So I'm going to move this guy back. What I'm going to do in Nashville is I'm actually going to, starting now, start pulling out of Nashville. and I'll explain in a moment. I'm actually pretty satisfied with how long we were able to hold Nashville, so I'm not all that upset about it. I knew at some point I was going to lose it. It was just a matter of how long, because I'm just trying to delay his advance as much as possible, while at the same time holding on to strategic locations that give me victory points. But so I'm going to back off from this depot because now it doesn't really matter if I take it out or not. I mean, he's going to be supplied by the river, he's going to take Bowling Green back, and he's got all these river ships to supply his army. So I'm going to move Johnson back to the west. I may move him on Cairo just to harass him here and do some damage. And also, he's got this advanced force. I don't think he has much here. And so he'll be cut off from supply. And so he'll have to do potentially something about it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move a core. So I'm going to move Forney back here. Because he's not... He can start pushing down this rail line, which really puts me in a situation where if he takes this area, he's going to cut me off from moving from west to east. And he's also going to put me in a situation where I'm not in a good defensive position. And he's got the troops to do it. I mean, he can move one more corps down here if he wanted, which I would actually welcome, because then I could attack him and he wouldn't have his full force to defend with. But I just need to make sure I don't get encircled. So I'm going to pull back here, pull the courier down to Nashville, and then probably swing around and make this my new defensive spot, which then means I may have to start vacating a lot of, what is this, the rest of Kentucky and probably the west of Tennessee, minus Memphis, but we'll see. If I'm still holding Memphis by the end of 63, I will be a very, very happy camper. But so that's what we're doing, is moving a lot of stuff back, and then we'll see what he does from there. Over here in Arkansas, it's really, really irritating. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know if the game's glitched or what, but a couple times now I've been set up to engage him, and there was no battle. He didn't have any military control across this river here or here, and yet there were no battles. He didn't have any military control here in Smith, Arkansas. He moved in, there was no battle, and now he's besieging the place, and there's been no battle. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm going to try and attack him, because if you look, he's getting really low in supply. So he's got maybe this turn, and then he might be out of supply, and then after that he's going to start suffering attrition. And I got these ships here, so it cuts off his supply and his retreat route. So we still have the depot here. I'm trying to blow it up, but in the meantime I'm going to attack him and hopefully accomplish that. So we'll see. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. And with that, I want to say it's kind of everything to cover. I spent all my money on really replacements. Like, I burned through my elites, so I got to replace those. I burned through my line infantry, trying to replace those. All my cavalry are gone, replacing those. All my militia are gone. So those last couple battles really depleted my replacement pool. And we're kind of okay on artillery, but yeah, we're hurting across the board. Inflation is 13%. There was as far as morale swing, what kind of morale swing was there? Tell me. Maybe none this turn? I don't know. That doesn't sound right. And then we did get, oh good, economic sunrise, inflation lowered by 1 point. I'll take it. 7 money, 5 war supply from the blockade. Okay, so with that, I will conclude this portion of the video. I'll be back.